All right, one more topic, then we're going to get to your questions. I think the press, because they don't understand conservative political culture and because they don't want to believe it's true, is missing the possibility that what's happening now via MAGA and Turning Point is going to change the complexion of the midterm elections. Yes. The level of fundraising that took place this weekend, of organizing, of energy. Midterm elections, above all else, politics in general, is about energy and passion. And I'm not saying it's definitely happening, but Dan, how possible is it that this is going to be the equivalent of what the Dobbs decision was, which is a massive wave that changes the complexion of who's going to win the midterms?
I don't know if it'll be a massive wave. I do think it has energized the other side. Like I think going pre this, polls showed Democrats were more energized by 10 to 15%. In fact, John, you've talked about like sometimes when you win so much, it's hard to keep your side fired up. Right. I don't think now Republicans will lack for a rallying call to be engaged, to register voters, and ultimately to turn out voters. You know, do it for Charlie. I think you heard J.D. Vance say over the weekend. I think you're going to hear more about that. I think what's going to be the challenge here is that middle 10% that didn't hear the left when they talked about democracy and existential threats. I don't know if they're going to hear the other side. How do they view this 6 months, 12 months from now? And I think that's the question, because you can get so consumed by this and X and forget the real lives of real people, so to speak. And I think that's going to be an interesting question for Republicans politically to manage going forward.
Sean.
So there's two things that, especially in a midterm, that are going to matter. One is intensity. Do people really feel fired up going out and vote? We've touched on that. And the second is sort of what's become in my sort of world is king in the last several cycles, which is data. And if you look at what is happening in terms of donations and activations in the last 48, 72 hours, Turning Point said that they've, and I apologize to my friends there if I get this wrong, but I think they had 900 chapters. They've had requests for like 3,200, and that's high schools and colleges in the past 72 hours. So if you think about on the margins of what matters in a midterm, and you take all of this key demographic that normally, if they had voted, young voters would be going to the left, shifting to the right. That is a massive swing that on the margins could have a huge disproportional effect. I argue that if we carry Virginia in the next 60 days, and remember, it's not just what's going to, normally you'd say, oh, well, election days in 60 days. In Virginia, we start voting next week, which is a whole nother problem, but that's not for today. And so there is a good chance that we can pull this out in Virginia because of the intensity that exists right now. Never mind what happens in the midterms a year from now. So I actually think that this could be a huge watershed moment where the Dems lose a key demographic that becomes, think about the voter data that will follow these guys going forward now.
Yep. Let me tell you three other political impacts I think this could have. And Sean, I know you were doing the numbers from memory. I think you said hundreds. It's actually thousands. You said
it's 3,200. I think.
3,200.
Yeah. I think it's 38,000.
That might be. Yeah. I didn't want. I was actually. Yeah. You're right.
Small difference.
And in any event, want more great clips like that? I've got an idea. Hit the subscribe button. Be part of the two-way community. Never miss a clip. And you can always watch our full episodes. Join them live. Go to twoway.tv.